Alright. Okay. This is Mr. Monroe again. I'm just making a video today on medians and centroids. On the back of your notes, you'll see altitudes and orthocenter notes. That's going to be tomorrow's notes. Was trying to save some paper there. So just be prepared for that tomorrow. So don't lose this note sheet because it's also tomorrow's note sheet. Alright. So today we're going to talk about what a median is. Okay. So a median of a triangle is a segment that is formed from connecting a vertex of a triangle, okay, to the opposite side's midpoint. All right. So here you may need some kind of straight edge, all right, to draw these segments. All right. So the first one, okay, is going to look like that. It's going to go from a vertex to the midpoint. If you notice, there are some small points right there. Those are going to be our midpoints for this. All right. Okay. And one of the things to note about this is that since these are midpoints, right, that means that this segment and this segment are congruent. Okay. If we form all of our medians, right, we have this side and that side, okay, is going to be congruent, and then same thing over here. Even without those lines there, okay, this midpoint is going to cut this segment into two equal pieces, all right? And that's what a midpoint does, right? Now, if you notice, when you connected these points, there's a point formed in the center, and that point is called a centroid, all right? So the centroid of a triangle is a point, can't spell this morning, made, wow, really can't spell this morning, from the intersection points of a median, of the medians of a triangle. Alright, so if we have a median, so if we have a median, okay, we can be given a problem such as, like, this side is 2x minus 6, and this side is, let's just say, 12. Alright, and if it asks you to solve for x, okay, you would just set these two parts equal because this side is going to be congruent to this part. So these two segments are congruent. So we just set 2x minus 6 equal to 12. Alright, and we add 6 to both sides, right, because we're solving. Alright, and then we have 2x equals 18. And then we divide both sides by 2, right? And x equals 9. Alright, and so if I wanted to know what x was, okay, x equals 9. And if I plug this in, I should get 12. And 18 minus 6 is 12. So that is a true thing. So this is our answer if we have to solve for x. That's just if you're given a median and you're trying to find if you're given two parts of a segment, a side of the triangle, okay, this left part equals this right part, okay, you just set them equal and solve. Right? That's one of the types of problems that you can have if you have a median. Another type of problem that you can have if you have a median is if you actually have intersecting medians and you have a centroid. So we're going to actually connect our vertices to the opposite midpoint on each of these as well. Okay. All right. So one of the issues with these, okay, is that they are going to be a little bit more complicated. So I'm going to put a star next to this, okay, because this is going to be kind of difficult for some of you to fully grasp. All right. If you're given a median and you're given an orthocenter, okay, the parts of this are going to be slightly different for each. I'm going to get some different colored markers so that way I can show you what I mean. All right. So this part right here is going to be equal to 1/3 of the whole thing. So I'm going to label some points. So I'm going to put A, B, C on our vertices. And I'm going to choose X, Y, Z on our midpoints. And then our orthocenter, I'm going to label that point as point O. All right. So now, when we are looking at these segments, okay, so XO right here equals 1/3 of the measure of the whole median. So XC. All right. So XO equals 1/3 the measure of XC, or 1/3 of the length. All right. So that's one part here. That's one type of problem that we could see. Another type would be if we have, if we're given OC, right? So OC is going to equal 2/3 of the whole thing. All right. So 2/3 of XC, the length of XC. All right. And now, the issue is that I can ask you in a variety of ways, because I could give you XO and ask you to find OC. I could give you OC and ask you to find the whole thing. Okay? Or I can do like different things on each thing. So we're gonna do some examples on our assignment, but I wanted you to be aware of this. All right? This length right here, XO, I'm also going to write this, is 1/2 the length of OC. All right? And that's going to be kind of important. So now notice that X is a midpoint, so X to the orthocenter. A midpoint to the orthocenter is going to be 1/2 the orthocenter to the vertex on the same median. All right? And that's going to be for any median on this, okay, because ZO is going to be 1/2 of OB, okay, or anything like that. So any of the medians on a triangle. All right, so if we look at our assignment, okay, I'm going to just go over to the assignment. All right, we're going to do some of these together as well. So now, they ask us to find, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Okay, they ask us to find FE. Okay, now this side over here is the whole bottom side. Notice we only also have one median. Okay, so since we only have one median and it's asking us to find one of the sides, and it gives us T to E, the length from T to E is 8. All right, so that's 1/2 because this segment and this segment are congruent. So F to T would also be 8. So that means that FE would be the sum of FT and TE. So FE equals 8 plus 8, which is just 16. Right? This problem is pretty easy. So any of the ones that only have one median are going to be done similarly. All right? So that's like 2 and 4. I believe also number 3 is done similarly. Now, once you start to look further down, they do get a little bit more and more complicated. All right? So, if we look at question number 5, I'm going to go down to question number 5. If we look at question number 5, we're given that it says to find ZQ given the whole length. All right? So, the whole length here is ZD. Okay? We are only given this part right here. Alright, and so that's going to definitely bleed through, but oh well. Alright, so we're given the whole length is 6. Alright, now, if you think about it this way, I've got a segment, okay, that's 6 units long, the whole thing, okay? There's a point somewhere on there closer to one of the sides, alright? And so, in this case, we're going to say that this is D, Q, and then Z, alright? We're trying to find QZ, or ZQ, alright? If this part is 2/3 of the whole length, okay, and we're given the whole length, we can multiply our whole length by 2/3. So 2/3 times 6, alright? And if you remember how to do this without a calculator, that's great. If you don't, that's also okay. Reminder here, I'm going to get a calculator. Okay, so reminder here, when you are on this screen, if you go to calculate, alright, now, you can either go to calculate, or if you go to a new document and add calculator, that's what you're going to need. Now, to get a fraction, you can hit Control and then the divide button, okay, and it's going to pop up with this little fraction bar, but you're going to have to move in and out of that, okay, it's up to you. Alright, so I'm going to just type 2/3, and then I'm going to put parentheses, and then 6, because that's what I wrote down here, so I'm going to type it directly into the calculator, and it's going to give me an answer. Alright, it's going to give me a whole number, which is 4. Alright, if it gives you a fraction, because fractions don't mean the most to y'all, so let's say, so the answer for this one, ZQ, is 4. But if it gave you a fraction, so let's say that it told you that it was 4/3, 4/3. In your calculator. Okay. Now there's a few ways that you can get 4/3 to give you a decimal instead of a fraction. One of those ways is to literally just put a decimal point at the end of either the top number or the bottom number, and it will give you a decimal. All right. You could also do menu, go down to number, go down to number, and then approximate to, or convert to decimal, and it will also do that. Okay, if you notice there was also the approximate fraction, if you're ever asked to give a fraction response instead, that would be a way to do it. And then also, you can hit Control Enter. Now, if you're doing operations, so if you did, if you had to do something else, so we multiplied 2/3 times, let's say 7, and then I hit Control Enter, that one worked. But if I did 2 times, I don't know. There's one way, if you're doing a bunch of operations and you're using your answer from a previous thing, and then you hit Control Enter afterwards, it's going to give you the wrong decimal. It'll divide a second time by your number. Okay, so make sure that you're paying attention to what's being typed in the calculator so you don't accidentally end up with the wrong answer. All right. Okay. So now let's look at some other problems. All right. So if we look at number 7, we're given the whole thing. Okay, BV is 3.9, alright? So I'm going to put B over here, I'm going to put G closer to it, and then B last. Alright, so we're given 3.9 as the whole thing. Alright, and then we're asked to only find BG. Okay, so again, that's going to be 2/3, so it's just like number 5. Okay, okay, so instead, let's look at number 8, all right? I think, easy if ZV. Oh, yeah. So, on number 8, we're told that from, we have E, Z, and V. Okay, we're told that ZV is 12, right? We're asked to find this part, right? So if you remember from our notes, this part is 2 times the length of from the centroid to the midpoint, right? So we just take our 12 and multiply by 2, right? And that's going to be how we do this problem, right? So some of these are going to be difficult, some of them are going to be easy. This side is, there's no variables here. You're just either you're multiplying by 2 or something. You're figuring it out, okay? You may have to multiply by a different number entirely. Okay, a different fraction. If you don't recall that, I'll try to come into class tomorrow if you have any questions at the end. All right, but I do have to teach my own class as well. So flip it over though, because now we're going to get to some stuff where there's fractions. All right, I'm going to actually tell you to cross out. Go ahead and cross out questions 14 through 18, just to kind of make your assignment more simple. Okay. So 14, 16, and 18, just the evens. All right, please leave your odds alone. Okay. On this, okay, if you look closely at some of these, okay, so 11 and 12, I believe, are just talking about finding the midpoints. Okay, or using the fact that there's a midpoint at T for 12. At 11, it's definitely just telling you to set parts equal. Now, if it gives you the whole thing, you'll just set the smaller part, the x plus 6, because that's IE, whereas the whole thing is 3x plus 5. All right, so you're going to multiply this EI, this x plus 6, by 2. And when we do that, make sure to put it x plus 6 in parentheses. Okay, and distribute that 2 to both things. So 2x plus 12 equals 3x plus 5. Right? And then solve this out. Now, if it just asks you to find x, then once you solve for x, you're good. If it asks you to find a length, then you have to do a little bit more work. So like on number 15, it's going to ask you to do a little bit more work there. Right? You're going to have to plug it back in. But I am going to help you set up number 17, just set it up, not actually solve it all the way out. All right, so to do this, MQ, we're given MQ, the whole thing, is 3x minus 3. And then we're given XQ, which is 1/3 of the whole thing. All right, so we're going to actually multiply our 1/3 part by 3, because 1/3 times 3, 1/3 of 3 is going to be 1, and so that gives us 1 whole, is the idea there. So I'm going to multiply this by the 2x minus 6 by 3. All right, I'm going to distribute, so that's 6x minus 18. All right, and once you solve for x, okay, we'll go ahead and solve on this one, and then I'll have you plug it in yourself. All right, so I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. So I get negative 3 equals 3x minus 18. I'm going to add 18 to both sides. And I'm going to get 15 equals 3x. So x is going to equal 5. Once we divide by 3, of course. All right? So x equals 5. But that's not the answer, because it wants us to find xq. So we're going to take our original xq, and we're going to plug our 5 back in. So 2 times 5 minus 6. And I'll let you do that to get your answer for xq. Okay, and then that will be your answer, whatever you get down there. All right, so that's today's assignment. If you have any questions, I will try to be by in the last 5 to 10 minutes. Try to do the rest of it yourself. All right, I know this is going to be a struggle for all of us, but if we work together and we work hard, we will be successful. All right, so I'll catch you today in class once I get there. Okay, thanks.